Welcome back to another edition of Temple TV. This time there's a catch though. There's no game today, so we're going to be doing a recruiting special. Going to look at some of the prospects that Coach Jeremy Dugan has targeted so far in this young recruiting season. We're going to start things off with halfback Anthony Thomas from Ephrata, Pennsylvania. Small town at 60 miles west outside of Philadelphia. Now, first things first, there's a few things this kid needs to work on, including putting on some weight. He's only 6 foot and only about 183 pounds, and despite those only 183 pounds, he still benches 360 and squats 355. Not bad at all for a guy who only weighs 183, but still, if he works on putting on some weight and working on finding the lanes in his running game, he could easily be a quality back. Next up is Luke Fowler, quarterback out of Franklin, Tennessee. Interesting note about the town of Franklin, it's basically a musical goldmine. Billy Ray and Miley Cyrus, Kenny Chesney, Brad Paisley, Kings of Leon, Paramore, Carrie Underwood, they all come from Franklin. So if football doesn't work out, he'll have a career in the music business with all that Franklin, Tennessee air he's been breathing in. But with what I've seen from this kid, he shouldn't have to worry about football not working out. And to be quite honest, I'm surprised that Dugan is even going after this kid when he already has PJ Walker on the roster. Fowler would bring some competition to the QB position for Walker, and that would be good for both of these kids. So that's probably the process that's going through Dugan's head. And Fowler is about 6'2", so he's taller than Walker, but he's also a scrambling quarterback. The difference with Fowler is he's got slightly better footwork in the pocket. So overall, I believe Fowler is the better option. But if Dugan can't bring him in, we're not really missing out a whole lot with Walker under center. And as we all know by now, Coach Dugan is from New Jersey, and we knew that his main recruiting focus was going to be in New Jersey, and he's shown that early on. As the top guy on his recruiting board is cornerback Darius Hart from Toms River South High School. Dugan coached there for this kid's freshman and sophomore years, and he's very high on him. At Toms River South, they ran the option offense, and Hart ran a lot in that offense, so he could end up playing halfback or receiver if needed, but his best role is definitely corner. He's a very physical defensive back, tackles extremely well, he's very good in the zone. He doesn't quite have the speed to keep up with speedy receivers or even the best receivers. He's not the best in man coverage, but those are really the only downsides I can see to him, but he can easily improve those with some practice and some grooming. And he's on the top of Dugan's recruiting board, so he's going to be putting all his resources into securing this guy and improving Temple's defense for the upcoming years. Second guy from New Jersey on Dugan's board, Derek Grigsby. Offensive tackle from West New York, New Jersey. This kid's the number 2 overall offensive tackle in the country. He may be out of reach for a program like Temple, but that is not stopping Dugan from going after him. And there is only one thing that you need to know about Grigsby. 6'8", 295 pounds, 460 bench press, 605 squat, 4.88 40-yard dash. He is a physical freak. Any school in the country would love to have a guy like this on the program. Next up on the list, we've got Grigsby's teammate Lance Bell. Free safety, 6'2", 194 pounds. He's a 3-star recruit. He's not the fastest, he's not the most talented safety out there, but he's a solid safety nonetheless, and Dugan is very high in him, so we could very well see him coming to Temple next year, as he's already very high on the board for him, and we could very well see him starting for Temple. Now let's head back down to Coach Dugan's stomping grounds on the Jersey Shore. More specifically, Brick Township at Brick Memorial High School, one of the 2 high schools in Brick, and Memorial happens to be the lesser of those high schools in the football programs. Offensive guard Darnell Lucas is who we're going to be covering here. He's a 6'2", 273-pound offensive guard. Now, if you look at those numbers, he's pretty undersized for a Division I lineman, and he's only a 3-star prospect, and he's not heavily recruited for the fact that he's undersized, and he's from a town where he's part of the lesser school in that town. But with some grooming, and if he puts on some weight, and he works on his footwork a bit, he could be a very solid guard for Temple or any other school that ends up picking him up. On to another school in the Shore Conference in New Jersey. Chris Goodwin was an absolute star at Lakewood High School. He led the Piners into the playoffs, deep into the playoffs, and he was an electrifying receiver and an electrifying corner. But unfortunately, he had his full ride to Rutgers taken off the table once he ran into some off-the-field issues, and he ended up going to a 2-year school, so he will be coming out as a junior, but I'm more than okay with that, just for the simple fact that something that Temple is missing is speed, and Goodwin has that, and he has a lot of it. He ran a 4.26 40-yard dash. And he's listed as an athlete, but if you ask me, he'll probably end up at receiver, as that's what he's most comfortable at, and that's what I'm pretty sure that Dugan wants him to play. And last, but certainly not least, we've got Thomas Bowling, middle linebacker out of Union, New Jersey. He's 5'9", 217 pounds. He played both sides of the ball at Union High, linebacker and halfback, and he's got a better body to be a halfback. He's very undersized for a linebacker, especially a middle linebacker, but honestly, I don't care about all that, and neither does Dugan. This kid benches 425 pounds, he squats 580, and he runs a 4.58. The kid can flat out play, and that is the only thing I'm concerned with. And that's all the recruits we've got here to talk about today, so that pretty much wraps things up here in the studio, and be sure to stay tuned as we'll be following the recruiting here at Temple University along with all the games all year long here on Temple TV. Be sure to tune in next time as the Temple Owls travel back to Philadelphia to take on the Houston Cougars in the first conference matchup here at Lincoln Financial Field.